Yo guys, so today I'm going to show you how to make your vocals sit in the mix. So let's preview the song just as an FYI. All we got is a little bit of auto-tune access on here. See, just a little bit. So let's hear it. Cool. So you hear the song is kind of dull, or at least the vocal is kind of dull. It doesn't really sit in the mix. It's just kind of there. Obviously, there's auto-tune on it, which tunes it and puts it in like the key of the song, but it's not cutting like you would hear maybe like a Travis Scott song sounding or a Drake song sounding. So let's go through the process of how we would make this sit in the mix. So the first thing you want to do, go over to your master channel strip, and we want to put the song in mono. So we use this button right here, and that puts the song in mono. So stereo, mono, put it in mono. We want to mix in mono. I do this because when you mix in stereo, the wide elements, like for example, synthesizers, will complicate the perceived volume of the song and the different sounds in the song. Basically, for example, if there's a synth that's super wide, and that's the only thing wide in our mix, we actually perceive that as loud, even if it's actually quieter than some of our mono instruments. Anyways, that's in the weeds, but putting the mix in mono gives you a more realistic idea of what you're listening to. Obviously, later we will make the song stereo, but mixing in mono will make the song come out sounding more professional and translate on different systems because we didn't let stereo image or ear candy fool us during the mixing process. So to make it mono, just put a mono plugin on the output or click this button right here in Studio One. In Logic Pro, you use the utility plugin. And then when the song is done, just put it back in stereo or take the utility mono plugin off and it will automatically be stereo. So, okay, let's move forward. The second thing you want to do is add EQ. So let's grab an EQ. Cool. So what we're looking to do with EQ is shape the frequencies of the vocal to fill in the gaps of the beat. I find it's best to look at vocals like an instrument. We don't want our instruments to conflict with one another. We want to be able to hear them all and have them all complement one another. So let's do that now. Cool. So basically what we did here was we took out the lows of the vocal because that usually will conflict with the 808s and the bass in the song. And when you play it in the car, you want the 808s to really shine through. So you don't want your vocal or any other instruments conflicting with that low end area. So we cut that out here, usually around here. The 250 hertz to 350, around like the low mids. If you have like a mid-rangey sounding vocal, so not like a super high-end sounding female vocal, but like a mid-rangey male vocal, we usually want to cut around here because some of our bass elements are still sitting around here and you'll get some buildup if you don't cut the frequencies from different instruments. So we cut it out of the vocals a little bit and it should make it sit a little more in the mix. And then up here, I really like to bring out some of the airy nature of vocals and also just have them dominate the upper mid-range section of a mix. So we boosted around here and I boost up here a little bit just as support for these frequencies up here, if that makes sense. So to make EQ sound a little bit more natural, sometimes adding support bands will help just make it so it doesn't sound so harsh. So cool, let's hear before and after.
You gon' need an umbrella, I got big drip. I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need some glasses, I got big glint.
And obviously we added gain as well. The vocal was just really quiet in the mix. So the next thing we want to do is compress our vocal. I find that compression has a wide variety of applications. They're somewhat endless, and if you're willing to be creative, to be honest, you can really do anything. Um, Honestly, I'd say there's no right or wrong way to use it. So try not to let compressors scare you. I was scared of compressors for years, and they're actually pretty simple. A compressor basically just automates the volume of whatever you're compressing. So if you set a slow attack, it's going to lower the volume slowly. If you set a fast release, it will stop lowering the volume quickly after it initially lowers it. So that might be a little confusing, but it's all just based on lowering volume. So I'm kind of oversimplifying it, but that's what it's doing in a nutshell. So what we're looking to do is push down the volume of the parts of the vocal that are making the vocal stick out. We want to give the impression that the vocal is part of the beat. It basically needs to ride the beat. Like if you were to go surfing, you want to ride the flow of the wave. If you have a handle on the wave, you can take liberties, but that's really up to the artist. From a mixing perspective, step one is we want to make the vocal ride the wave. So let's go grab a compressor. So mainly we're listening to the kick and the snare. We want to help the vocal find a groove between those instruments. So let's do that.
I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need an umbrella, I got big drip. I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need some glasses, I got big glint. I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need an umbrella, I got big drip. I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need some glasses, I got big glint. I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need an umbrella, I got big drip. I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need some glasses, I got big glint. I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need an umbrella, I got big drip. I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need some glasses, I got big glint. I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need an umbrella, I got big drip. I know devils when I see 'em.
Cool, so now listen to the kick and the snare and how the vocal kind of sits before and after.
You gon' need some glasses, I got big glint. I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need an umbrella, I got big drip. I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need some glasses, I got big glint. I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need an umbrella, I got big drip. I know devils when I see 'em.
Cool, so we didn't affect the very beginning of the vocal, so when he starts saying the big drip section, it doesn't start right away. The attack is set a little off so that we're controlling the tail end really here. So the next thing we want to do is add some reverb. So reverb simulates sound that space makes basically. So for example, a room or a hall. If you shout in a hall, it has a specific sound. So let's add some room reverb. When adding reverb, we're looking for something that makes the vocal feel part of the beat. I like to match the vocal reverb sound to the sound of the beat. Cool, let's go.
You gon' need some glasses, I got big glint. I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need an umbrella, I got big drip. I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need some glasses, I got big glint. I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need an umbrella, I got big drip. I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need some glasses, I got big glint. I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need an umbrella, I got big drip. I know devils when I see 'em.
Cool. Now let's turn it into stereo. We might have to make some changes over here, but let's just figure it out. I actually like this. So let's do a before and after. Let's hear what the plugins sound like off and then back on.
You gon' need an umbrella, I got big drip. I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need some glasses, I got big glint. I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need an umbrella, I got big drip. I know devils when I see 'em. You gon' need some glasses, I got big glint. I know devils when I see 'em.
Cool. Sounds way better. And that's how you make your vocals sit in the mix. Let me know if you have any questions or thoughts in the comments. See you guys.